I finally seen the Odyssey movie, and yeah, it's a it's an epic, man. Mr. Christopher Nolan has done his thing as per usual. It was definitely a very interesting experience at the cinema, especially after watching Spider-Man Brand New Day. It was a refreshing experience. This is the kind of experience I like to have in the cinema, not going to the cinema and then, picking through nonsense dialogue or nonsense scenes or a full-grown woman asking a young teenager to get into the swimming pool with her.
Damn!
I don't like scenes that take you out of the movie.
That's right.
I feel I had a better time at the cinema with Odyssey than I did with Spider-Man Brand New Day. And the other things I want to talk about at a later date with regards to certain things I've been going through recently, spiritually, intellectually, emotionally as well, the way I'm observing the world, religion in general, and this topic of God and yada yada yada. There are certain things that really reawaken those feelings internally, like certain dialogue or certain scenes with I almost said Odyssey, with Odysseus. Yeah, some like the line when he was speaking to, I can't remember what deity he was speaking to, when he asked, so why don't the gods speak to us in a way we can understand? I don't know if I'm saying it word for word, but that dialogue, instantly I was like, yep, I'm here for this movie for sure. If anything didn't get me hooked, that line alone, I was like, yeah, I'm here for this movie. So I want to get this out of the way real quick. The Cyclops wasn't done well enough for my liking. I didn't want to compare it to all other previous movies we've seen where they've depicted the Cyclops a particular way, even the old school Sinbad movies. I was like, you know what? I don't want to walk into this movie comparing things. Whatever mythological creatures or godly creatures they depict, I want to see how Nolan does his iteration of it. But when it came to the Cyclops, there was this scene when the Cyclops was introduced that I was like, I started panicking, I was like, yo, this feels like it's high stakes. But when it came to the rest of the scenes, I didn't feel like the Cyclops posed a threat from the perspective of the soldiers. Not saying that the Cyclops was supposed to be mean, or in the poem he's cruel or whatever. I'm just saying in terms of seeing a creature you've never seen before. And I imagine those men would have heard of tales and whatnot. I don't know how many men or how many of those soldiers with Odysseus that day or in that entire run had seen the Cyclops face to face before. Putting myself in their shoes, seeing this being for the first time, this tall, huge being, I don't feel Nolan did his iteration of that creature justice.
Let me explain.
I don't want to say make the character look scary, but like the movement, for example. I understand once someone is big, they move a little slower, but there was just something about it that just rubbed me the wrong way. Whereas everything else outside of the Cyclops, I felt some level of dread, some tension for sure. The giants with the silver armor, they were okay. They were just brutes. They're just huge guys who soaked up a lot of damage unless you hit them in the eye with an arrow, or if you're very good at your sword thing. But they wouldn't even let you get close to strike them in the face. By the time you're close enough, they're swinging at you.
No shit.
Aside from the giants with the silver armor and the Cyclops, everything else was cool. I also like this thing about Zeus's law, this respecting the law of the gods. I like that the gods felt present. There wasn't this element of if I wrong you, the gods will punish me at Judgment Day, or I'll get my comeuppance 50 years. Maybe that was the case in that part of the world. But the way the movie depicted the gods, they were very, very present. They're here now. You do your ritual, you do your offering or whatever. There's certain things I didn't like about when it came to like offerings, for example. I thought offerings were across the board, meaning you didn't have to use animals or blood sacrifice. You could use fruits, you could use vegetables, you could use music or dance, you could write a song, you could sing a song, or you could hum or whatever, or you could create art or create a masterpiece, or I dedicate this statue or whatever it is. I thought those are other forms of rituals. Maybe I'm correct as well. Maybe those are extended forms of rituals, but what Nolan or what this the original story decided to focus on was the blood sacrifice. But aside from that, I enjoyed this movie for sure. And as I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, when I'm done with this movie, I wonder how I'm going to rate this movie in terms of, 1 to 10. And also how I normally like to rate my movies. Can I watch this movie again or multiple times? As I finished it, I felt, yeah, I can see this one more time. If anything, 2 more times and that's it. Compared to Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Immortals, and 300, this one feels like a one more watch. And that's about it. Not saying that it's a bad movie or I can watch it again, but the ratio for sure is, you know what, let me just get straight to the point. Comparing it to Lord of the Rings or Immortals, I can rewatch those 3 movies again and again and again without hesitation. Damn! Whereas with this one, I feel like I need to watch it one more time and that's it. Now my rating out of 10, I'm struggling between 7.5 and 8 out of 10. And I don't know why. I think it's the Cyclops thing.
You serious?
I think that Cyclops thing really threw me off. I wanted more from the Cyclops thing. I also wanted more from the sirens. Everything else was cool. That's right. This Zeus's Law thing really, really got me, and it's something I've been toiling with for a while. Here we go. I don't want to say the lack of God's presence, but just the comparison, the activeness, the response time between a prayer or a request or something, and then boom, the way some of the soldiers or some of the people would respect Zeus's law. I was trying to get into the psyche to see if they were respecting the law out of fear or respecting the law because it felt, proper. Like Zeus's law felt like natural law, not out of ego, because of a god and I want to treat these human beings like this, so you must respect this law. Wow, I put this law in place to make you scared. It felt like the law was nature's law. You're supposed to be kind and loving towards each other. So it's a natural law, and it makes sense the way people were living by it. I did wonder if some of them were just doing it out of fear of Zeus kicking their ass, and I felt some were living the law. They weren't abiding by the law. They were living according to the law or living with the law. I don't know if either of those things make sense, but some characters you could tell they were like, if it wasn't for this law, I'd have kicked your ass by now. I'd have done this, I'd have done that. So it felt like those were fake followers of Zeus or fake believers or fake, they were faking their modesty or morality. But that dialogue, why don't the gods speak to us in ways we can understand, really, really got my gears spinning again. Because, for a while as a teenager, I had a plethora of questions about this existence, about God, and how we were taught about God, and even the name God or the word God. And you realize, other cultures have different words or different names for God. And the fact we've adopted this other word and not stuck, some of us anyway, haven't stuck to the names we grew up with our grandparents, great-grandparents, so on and so forth. It just, brought those things back. I mean, they've been there for a while, and I just kept them quiet. And I thought, I don't know how to articulate these topics on camera, but thankfully this movie, allowed me to find ways to get it, off my chest without sounding like someone who hates God. I mean, the idea of God, I'm not fussed with, but the idea of this God, this God, let me rephrase that. The idea of a supreme being, I'm not fussed with. I don't have an issue with that because for me, I feel I'm part of that supreme entity. But the idea of God is very, very different. And how this movie depicts the gods, like I said, they were present. As soon as whatever happened with certain characters, certain gods responded without hesitation. You ain't lying. Without hesitation. That's right. So even if the gods don't respond today, they'll respond tomorrow. There isn't this sense of absence. Maybe some people had the experience, they prayed on Monday and the answer or their prayers never got answered till 5 years down the line. Maybe. But I'm just talking about how this movie depicted the gods very, very present. Any little thing with thunder or lightning, Zeus is watching. Just like that. That whole, don't try it. And I like that because even if you're attempting to do something, you'll always get that little, even if your subconscious or your inner voice is like, I don't think we should do that. You just get a full, external, solid, concrete confirmation. No voice, but just a little thunder and lightning. You'll be like, you know what? No, I'm not even going to tamper with that. Sometimes it's good to have that because the more you start to listen to that inner voice and then trust that, listen and trust that inner voice and you get that almost like a call and response. And to me, it showed me love and care. I care enough for you to warn you with these signs and symbols. And that's another thing I love about this movie is the signs and symbols, they were showing. There's this one scene that I so want to spoil badly. When it came to an island the soldiers got onto, and there was a lion, tiger, and another really strong animal. And I thought to myself, whatever you guys have gone through, this is the time you should get your spidey senses, on peak, because you're on an island where you're seeing these animals and they're chilling. I thought whatever you're about to encounter, whatever you're about to meet I think it's going to be worse than the previous things you've gone through, for real. Damn! Because there's a lion here, there's a tiger there, and they haven't even pounced on you. So it's letting me know, just as a viewer watching it, I'm like, yo, something ain't right here. The fact that these things aren't even attacking you, whatever is up there, it's got to be worse. That's right. It might be a centaur, it might be a minotaur, whatever it is, it's worse than these creatures because they're not even jumping on you. They're just looking at you. Dude, that scene. You don't understand. That scene alone, it felt really visceral. It felt tactile. There's something about it that felt so real. I'm like, yo, this is the way to do it. It's one thing to wave a wand, a magic stick and something happens, but the physicality of it, I deeply, deeply appreciate. So I salute Nolan for that scene out of many other scenes, for sure. And there was some scenes got me, some good jump scares, man. I also felt drawn to Odysseus, and I liked the way he treated his men. There was this sense of respect, protection, honor as well, despite some flaws, for sure. But I like that. I didn't want to go into a movie and watching a character appear as perfect. I like that he had flaws naturally, but at least the way the movie depicted his good traits felt like his good traits outweighed his bad traits. And yes, there were some elements of ego, of course. What stuck out to me the most, outside of the flaws and the egotistical expressions here and there from time to time, I always kept in my mind that at least he's got a sense of morality, justice, love. There's a sense of respect. Yes, he's spoken a particular way about the gods. The war campaign is not good unless a god says, I've given you permission to go from here to there. And even that too, that's why I feel I want to see it again, to see if their journey was blessed by the gods or a particular god. Like if Ares has said, yes, you have my blessing to go and rampage the city. There's also that part to also understand the relationship between the gods and the human beings. And if I want to lay siege to a nation and I seek the protection and the strength and courage and the war power or war cry or battle power from Ares, and then he blesses me and my men, what if Zeus says no? Do I still go ahead and but even the way the movie still depicts it, it looks like Zeus would find a way to ensure those men don't get to that location. So I want to know how their relationship works. It's something I'd have liked to have seen. Maybe the movie mentions it in some way, shape, or form, and I missed it. Hence, again, this feels like a movie you would want to watch twice because I was immersed, man. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, I enjoyed it because I was like, yo, this thing better not suck. You ain't lying. Just because it's Nolan doesn't mean every movie has to be on fire. Some movies, are hit and miss for everyone who loves a director, whether it's Tarantino, whether it's Scorsese. There are some movies in their catalog, some of their fans to say, you know what, out of all their movies, I don't like that one, I don't like that one, I don't like that one, so on and so forth. But this one I felt just be as good as Lord of the Rings or good in your own, own world. And yeah, it made me feel like, yeah, I might need to see this one the second time. But like I said, that rewatchability is not as strong as it is for me when it comes to Lord of the Rings, 300, Immortals, and even Harry Potter. I can watch those movies again, any of them without any hesitation. Like tonight, I can just jump on Lord of the Rings and watch all three of them tonight, or I would, take time for each day. Same thing with Harry Potter. Like 300, I don't need to be in any special mindset. I'll just be drawn into it instantly. And sometimes it feels like I'm watching these things for the first time again. But this movie, however, I'm glad I wasn't distracted. Sometimes some scenes, again, took me out of the movie. The Cyclops was one of them. And some other things happened. I was like, not sure about that. But, the whole plight or the journey, the whole story, how some of the men responded to to Odysseus. I liked, you know, the humanity of the story and also the magical or mythological godly aspect of it. I till now, I was happy to see the response time between a request from a human being to the gods and back. The movie definitely left me with that feeling of, why is it that when it comes to these kind of stories, the relationship between man and the gods was very instant in some cases, if not most cases. Even with prophecies as well, you're always getting this support. It feels like they weren't abandoned. That's the word I would use. They weren't abandoned. One or two things you'd be like, oh, why did the gods do this? I feel there's also room for understanding. And maybe that's also the aspect of the movie I missed, where you are not meant to question the gods, but even that you would still need some understanding or some clarity. Well, duh. There was a scene as well where they got to the beach, and I don't want to spoil it, they did something. That scene was, that scene was very, very good. Very, 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 very good. The cinematography in this movie, correct. The accent, for the first 10 minutes, threw me off a bit. And after a while, it phased out. It didn't bother me anymore. And the other thing that I saw people crying about online, and this is why I don't like online bait. I don't like social media bait. I like to have proper discussions, just honest, open discussions, so we can think and process and create solutions. Like I did a YouTube short recently about the cancellation of Wonder Man, the season 2 of Wonder Man on Disney Plus, and also I extended the question to then say, okay, there's a larger conversation that people are having because of the cancellation of Blade and Wonder Man, and some people are like, oh, Marvel is racist, or what's up with the black characters, yada yada yada. I couldn't care less anymore. What? Honestly, I couldn't care less anymore. And the question I asked in the shorts is, when are we going to start doing our own thing? That's a good question. We've been asking this question for years. What happened to this? Why don't we have this? A black James Bond. By the way, I don't want a black James Bond. You serious? We didn't create that IP. Let it be what it is based on what those people created. And then let's create our own thing, or draw on the things we've already created eons ago and bring them to life. And without having to wait for Hollywood. That boy is good. Hollywood is not Mount Olympus. Hollywood is not a deity. Hollywood is not Zeus. Hollywood is not Hera. Hollywood is not Hades. Hollywood isn't Ares. So the same way they're doing their thing, we do our thing. With the inclusion of Lupita Nyong'o, I don't want to say and spoil her surname, so I just say Lupita. If you replace her with someone else, it's neither here nor there. And kind of the same thing with John Bernthal. I hope I'm saying his name right, Mr. Punisher. Him and Lupita, I felt you could have just swapped them with a different actor, and they would, it is what it is. Whereas Matt Damon, I liked his portrayal of Odysseus. I even forgot I was watching Matt Damon. Sometimes my brain would readjust and say, oh, it's the guy who was in Elysium. Because I really like that movie, by the way. Really, really like that movie. So I enjoyed watching him as Odysseus. I forgot most of the time I was watching Matt Damon. Only once or twice there'll be a thing. Maybe it's the way he does a scene with his eyes or his nose. I'm like, oh, yeah, he's doing a good job as Odysseus. Then I'd forget and I'm back in again. But Lupita and Bernthal, I didn't feel that the movie needed them. And shout out to Tom Holland as well, by the way. Yes. The way he played Odysseus' son was very, very good. And Hathaway, I liked her. The other, what's the name? Oh my gosh, the lady from South Africa. I can't remember. Come on. I can't remember. It's not coming back. She played her role okay. Just looking at the face, it's like putting Angelina Jolie in her role. You can't miss her face. And even if you had replaced Anne Hathaway with Angelina, it wouldn't have felt right. There's something about Anne Hathaway that felt that she played a good wife and queen and mother. The queen scenes were very strong. I don't know who else. Robert Pattinson. He was okay. He was okay. He played that sniveling douchebag well. There were so many scenes that stuck out that I was like, yeah. Thankfully, there were some awesome scenes. Not just one, but there were multiple awesome scenes where you want to go back and watch it again just for those scenes outside of the whole story. Not saying the story was dull. You just want to see those scenes. It's just that the story is a beautiful story, but those scenes stuck out to me. The way he strummed his bow as well. No. Nolan did a good job. Definitely did a good job. And I'm still struggling between 7.5. Come on, son! It's between 7.5 and 8. 7.5 and 8. But yeah, beautiful movie. definitely beautiful movie, and I'm glad I saw it. I was hesitant because of the extra hype. It felt like it was overhyped, and then you go into the cinema and it's just meh, you know? Again, I don't want to have to compare it to Lord of the Rings and everything else in terms of which one is better. They're all in their own respective categories and realms. But like I said earlier on, rewatch value definitely feels like you can see it once or twice more. So in total, it'll be 3 times in total, and that's it. Whereas for me, I've seen Lord of the Rings multiple times. I've lost count. Same thing with 300, lost count. Immortals, lost count. Harry Potter, lost count. They're all very, very beautiful movies, very dear to my heart. Especially Lord of the Rings. I love the way they set up the characters. So when it comes to new IP, for example, and multiple characters, just like Blood and Bone, I want to talk about that in a separate video as well. Those kind of stories where it has multiple characters and multiple big actors, come into the franchise. I always feel, why is this siren making noise when I'm recording? Come on, man. I like when a movie can get multiple characters and find a way to intertwine their individual, stories or journeys together as one thing, and you have enough screen time with each character or a pairing of 2 characters or more, and it doesn't feel like, oh, this character is getting more screen time because of the actor or how they've been paid or whatever. You feel like you're drawn into the world, and with high stakes, you're worried for them when it comes to battle. You're worried for them when it comes to traversal of point A to B. You're constantly thinking about them. You like them when they hurt. You feel, you get connected to the character. So this movie, for sure, it didn't make me feel like I don't like. I mean, how certain characters were portrayed, yeah, to an extent, but I didn't feel taken out of the experience per se. That's the only thing I would say is, some actors didn't need to be here. Bernthal for sure, and Lupita. I feel you could have easily replaced them with someone else, and it'd have been cool. I feel Lupita could have been played by Angelina. There's something about her, especially her face, that just works for movies like these, especially for particular characters. I also don't want to start having this, tic-tac-toe conversation of put a brown sister here or brown person or the Greeks weren't this. That whole thing. That whole conversation, I like how some people are having it, but it's this versus that. Or for example, why are Black American actors coming here, or why are Black British actors coming here to take all that stuff? It feels like it's surface level, and people aren't pushing it beyond that. You're not asking the particular written contracts and agreements on a higher scale, on a deeper scale that states these are the rules we've created, and you can't come and change it. So having surface level discussions without going deeper to say what is going on in Hollywood where certain things are reoccurring. You're bringing in British actors to play a particular character. Why? Ask the questions and go further. Don't just have surface level discussions where I say, I think, you think, my opinion. Go for the center, the core and the truth. Find the truth, find the core, find the center, and then bring it back out. The fact that a lot of us don't know what's really going on behind closed doors in Hollywood, that should say something, so we don't get too attached to these topics. I just don't like being puppeted by particular discussions, which seem to be interesting and good topics or good discussions to have, but move further, push the needle further, find out why. Our opinions is one thing, the truth is another. One of those two things has more power than the other. I can have an opinion about anything any day. The truth remains. The truth always remains, unless people just want to talk for the sake of talking. Then that's another thing entirely. Anyone can open their mouth and talk for the sake of talking, like myself on this video. But I don't want to spoil, or I don't want to sour my mind with certain things. One last time, Odyssey is a beautiful time at the cinema. Finally, out of all the months this year, I definitely had a good or better time in the cinema than I did watching certain movie this year. This one definitely feels like a second rewatch for sure. Maybe a third one down the line, or the third time will probably be on digital. But second time in the cinema for sure. And I didn't see this at IMAX. I didn't really want to see it at IMAX. Maybe in the future, maybe my second watching might be on IMAX. But for my first watch, especially because I was like skeptical, I wasn't too sure. Again, it's Nolan, this said time period, Greek mythology for sure. Let's see what it's saying. Let's see how good you are, because the hype for this movie is something else. Compared to Spider-Man Brand New Day, yeah. So that's me done. Let me know if you've seen the Odyssey movie and what you thought about it, how you felt about it, what you liked and what you didn't like about it. Let me know in the comments section below. I've of course been your one and only multi-potentialite, neurodivergent host, the Kosmic.
Jedi signing out. Thank you for watching.